Hello, F Major's biggest fan here. Today I'm gonna be ranking the Nope Keys Season 3 episodes from worst to best. I haven't did these videos in a while. So last time, we ranked Season 2, which earned a B-. Let's see how Season 3 compares to Season 2. So like always, we will rate the episodes using 9-letter grades. The grades from best to worst are U, S, A, B, C, D, E, F, and W. If you don't know what each letter grade means, then please go back to my Season 4 video. The link to it will be in the description. So this season has 10 episodes, while the season before it had 12. So we'll have less episodes to talk about for this video. So, without further ado, let's rank the episodes. I used to love this episode when I was younger. Probably because I like long videos. Speaking of long videos, this is the third longest episode of Season 3, which is 21 minutes and 50 seconds long. Anyways, as you can tell, I really don't like this episode as much as I used to. This episode has so many things wrong with it. First of all, the reason why Intro Bleep hates C# major isn't revealed in this episode, but we'll talk about why he hates C# major in a later video. Also, I don't think C# major should have cried just because one person hates him. And speaking of C# major, he was such a jerk in this episode. And so was Big Room House when he sent a threat to the D's house. C# major should have ignored Windows Me and Windows blue screen of death. He didn't have to hit Windows blue screen of death for mentioning something more than 20 times. Then he somehow has the audacity to call out Drill Grinder for saying something rude to him even though he did more than just being rude to someone himself. What a hypocrite. So he kinda did deserve to be kicked out of the bus. But when the boys went on the next bus, the bus breaks down and C# major gets super angry just because of that. Like, was that really necessary? And because of that, he continues to act like a jerk. Big Room House was acting kinda immature as well. Not only that, but, guess what? C# major beats up someone just because she said that he wasn't sweet. I mean, at this point, C# major might have to be arrested for this. And Big Room House even tells him not to, but he still did it. I know that makes Big Room House a hypocrite, but still. And after C# major says that he doesn't want to be friends with Big Room House anymore, Big Room House somehow turns sensitive and starts crying. Instead, he could have said, "Fine, I don't want to be your best friend either. I don't even know why I became friends with you. You were nothing but a jerk to me and other people around you." Well, C# major does apologize later in the episode, but the apology doesn't sound very genuine. It seemed like he only apologized because no one else considered him number one. Also, not only does C# major act immature in the episode, but he acts immature as a narrator as well. C# minor too. Also, why did the boys leave their homes without telling anyone else in their respective households? Now that we've listed the negatives of the episode, are there any positives? Yes, actually. The scene that involves Windows Me stealing U Major's car was kinda funny. And I did like the funny face that C# major made when he was yelling at Windows Sod. The deleted scene was kinda funny too. And I don't think there's anything else good about the episode. This episode has a lot of problems, which unfortunately makes it the worst episode of Season 3. This episode is better off as a grounded videos in a nutshell video. Everyone in the house does something bad and gets grounded for it. That's pretty much all that happens in this episode. Why did I think this was a good idea for an episode? First we have C minor and major arguing over TV just like in episode 11. Then we have C major accidentally downloading a virus, C# major being loud, C Lydian and C# minor throwing plates for whatever reason, and more stupid things. Everyone seems out of character, and they're somehow more clumsy than usual. What are the chances of someone being this clumsy? And the way C Lydian and C# Lydian were introduced seemed really forced. They were only introduced to give the others another chance. And a side note, C Lydian wasn't meant to be a troublemaker at first. However, I did like how C# major says E major's catchphrase. But nonetheless, this episode is not good. I also think it might be too similar to a grounded video. It's nice to see G minor redeem herself. But this episode could have been done better. First of all, it seemed like G minor only apologized because she wasn't popular. And also, the rest of the episode is just G minor apologizing to people, which makes this episode a bit repetitive. Well, E minor did argue with B minor yet again in one scene, which I did like. Anyways, do you see what I mean? G minor even said that this episode was going to be a long episode even though it's the second shortest episode of season 3. So here's how I could have made this episode. Instead of apologizing to everyone one by one, G minor throws a party to apologize to everyone. And she would have to face some obstacles such as having the store running out of specific types of party supplies, and someone trying to sabotage her party. And she would have to give a more genuine apology. That's how this episode could have been great. So overall, this episode is a great concept, but the actual episode is mediocre. Sorry Larry, I know this is one of your favorite season 3 episodes, but I just think it's average. But at least I didn't give it a D. Anyways, remember when I said the big room house sent a threat to the D's house when I was reviewing the episode before this? Well, that transitions us to this episode. For some reason, I feel like I should dislike this episode as much as I dislike episode 27, but as you can see, I don't. Big Room House wasn't just a jerk in this episode, he was a criminal. And his loops hate D Sharp minor just because he wears orange. How stupid is that? And also, instead of working out, the D's could have added more security to their house. However, there were a few funny moments, which are D Sharp major being U major 2.0 and the argument in the courthouse, which you can find in the deleted scene. And I also like how Intro Bleep gets super mad with Big Room House after he said that he had to pay lots of money for bail. Maybe if Big Room House and his loops would have hated D Sharp minor for something more reasonable, then that would have made this episode better. You can't hate someone just because they wear a color you don't like. This episode is lots of action, but it could have been done better. So this episode gets a C. You know what, on second thought, maybe C Sharp major shouldn't have apologized to Big Room House after all. You wouldn't want to be friends with a criminal, would you? This episode is very similar to episode 20. Both episodes involve one or more people doing one thing for most of the episode. Both episodes have a little bit of action. They're the shortest of the season, and both episodes could have been better. How come E major and minor didn't ask Drum and Bass Volume 4 for money so they'll be able to pay for their fine? I know that would defeat the purpose of the episode, but why? Okay, here's what I could have done with this episode. Instead of having Drum and Bass Volume 4 helping them buy the van, why not have him go out of town for a few days? And how about making E major have enough money for the van and have E minor screw them over? That way, the episode would have an actual conflict. And that would probably prevent tricking the viewer into thinking E minor was going to redeem himself. So what makes this episode slightly better than episode 20? Well, maybe it's because this episode is more funny? So yeah, this episode is average. There were some funny moments in this episode, such as the scene that involves E major yelling at E minor for breaking things, while epic battle drums plays in the background, E major getting furious at E minor for giving others steroids, and especially the court scene. Basically, E major's the one that makes this episode funny. However, what brings this episode down is Sustained Sync being unnecessarily mean to Furios. But that doesn't prevent this episode from being pretty good. Now this is how you do episode 27 the correct way. My old friend Astropug told me that this was another one of his favorite episodes. It may not be my favorite of season 3, but I still like it. Unlike C Sharp major, F major wasn't such a jerk to his best friend in this episode. The fight with Windows Me and the other characters was fun to watch. We would have not been able to see it if E minor didn't steal E major's car. And speaking of E minor, I like the part where E major explains to E minor what his catchphrase means. Actually, I like both cohort sessions. So yeah, this episode is very good, and it's better than episode 27. Episode 27 is just a rip-off of this episode. And this is the episode that proves that E minor is the way he is today. Just like E minor argued with B minor over to 6 in episode 19, he argues with Ayrton's over the same thing. E minor saying E major's catchphrase was a bit funny even though it felt forced, and so was the part where the living room gets messed up. The scenes involving E major were funny as well, especially when he yells at E minor. Also, if you're wondering why E major said jail instead of jail, it's because I misspelled the word jail on purpose. As many of you know, the Eric voice mispronounces the word jail as jail even if you spell the word jail correctly. I don't know why. The reason why I mentioned that is because the way E major mispronounces jail is funny to me. And that's pretty much all I have to say. It's a very good episode. Please don't tell F major I said this, but I think this episode is funny and enjoyable. Especially the part where fake E major yells at F major like he's E minor. And E major having a high-pitched voice is hilarious. Man, if he still had the Joey voice today, then I would have been laughing out loud. Is there anything wrong with this episode? I don't think so. I just think this is a very funny episode. But there's just one episode that's even better. So get ready for number 1. Sometimes I like to come to this episode just to see E major make the funny angry face after he warns E minor about giving him a whipping in the beginning scene. But that's not the only funny part of the episode. When E major was in his car, I laughed at the way he said rule. Did I misspell the word rule or something? I don't know. I also find E major mispronouncing brokish book funny as well, which is another word I misspelled intentionally. Basically, I like every scene that involves E major, including the second deleted scene. I just really like this episode. I like how funny it is in the plot as well. And that's why this is my number 1 episode of season 3. Alright, now that I've talked about every episode of the 3rd season, let's give season 3 an overall rating. Well, season 3 did not do as well as season 2 like I thought it would. However, it did do better than season 1 still. Looking back at season 2, it had 3 bad episodes, 1 average episode, and 8 good episodes. Season 1 had 1 bad episode, 4 average episodes, and 2 good episodes. Season 3 has 2 bad episodes, 3 average episodes, and 5 good episodes. There's no point of comparing these 3 seasons with season 4. This season had some episodes with a bad plot, which are episodes 25 and 27. It also had episodes that weren't bad, but could have been better, which are episodes 20, 26, and 28. Did my writing somehow get worse? If so, then how? I guess I focused more on the length of the episodes rather than the quality. The longest episode of season 3 is a whopping 25 minutes and 41 seconds, while the longest episode of season 2 is a measly 13 minutes and 18 seconds. Can you believe that? That's a 12-minute difference. I don't think my main focus should be to make episodes as long as possible. Good thing E major made this season better. I thought he was pretty funny during this season. Heck, he was funny even in the worst episode of the season. And he was probably the funniest in episode 29. Episode 29 might take the first place spot from episode 23 in the future. Who knows? Alright, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell. I love you all and please have a blessed day. See you later.